Yo, what it do? It's your boy J. Lou, and you are just in time for something new. Alright, the video that everybody has been anticipating. Now, this video is basically the cornerstone of everything that you need to know about hair, right? This is a video that was supposed to come out a long time ago, but due to things that have taken place, originally I wanted to be able to collaborate with other YouTubers that actually fit underneath the category of this, but you all know how things went, and if you are not familiar with my channel, I don't want to go too much into that. But the importance of this video is it will help you if you have waves, but I've also included information that will help you even if you have regular type of hair, right? So whether if you're a waver or not, there's going to be a lot of information that's going to benefit you all. But with that being said, let's not waste any more time. Let's get straight into this video in regards to the curl types for 360 waves. Now, there are some things that you all need to know, and the first thing that you need to know is the history of hair typing. What is it? Who created it, and why is it important, right? I'm going to go into the details of that. We're also going to get into the indoctrination of misinformation, right? Now, people that are not part of the wave game, they may see this section as not important for the video, but it is very important when it comes to the history of the wave game, because there's a lot of people that have been indoctrinated with this just misinformation, right? And then the last thing is the most important thing. What is the importance of your curl type, right? People typically think that this video isn't important or that it's already defined by naturals, but the reality is it's easier for naturals to be able to define their curl type because they have longer hair. But when you have shorter hair, it's a little bit difficult to kind of define it, right? So with that being said, let's get into the history of hair typing. Who was the person that created hair typing? I know I don't want to hold you all up in suspense, but it was this person right here, right? Now, if you're looking at the screen, it clearly was not Oprah. We all know that Oprah is known for her talk show and everything of that nature. So it's clearly not Oprah. The person that created this is the gentleman that's sitting next to her. His name is Andre Walker. Now, who is Andre Walker? He is a celebrity stylist, and he was awarded this by Oprah, right? And we'll get more into the history. But he came up with the hair typing system, which refers to straight hair as type 1. It refers to wavy hair as type 2. It refers to curly hair as type 3. And it refers to type kinky hair as type 4. Now, one thing that you all may notice is it doesn't state coily hair, right? The main reason why I wanted to designate coily hair is because a lot of times when it comes to kinky and coily hair, it is just mischaracterized and just kind of forgotten about, right? Even when you look at this, there seems to be a hierarchy, and that goes into kind of like the history of the hair typing system, right? So if you go into Wikipedia, what you'll notice is he created this hair typing system back in 1990, but people think that he created it for the purpose of hair. It wasn't for the purpose of hair. It was more so to market his products to people that were coming in to buy them, right? So it was easier for him to say, hey, well, if you have this type of hair, then this is the product you should buy for this, da 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 da. And this is one of the reasons why it's led to so much criticism for the apparent hierarchy, which values Caucasian hair over the other hair types. Now, I don't really like saying Caucasian hair because there are some people that are Caucasian that have curly hair just simply because nobody is pure anything. We're going to get into the details of that. But when it comes to the history of hair typing, this is some of the things that you need to understand about it. Now, the next thing is, the first thing I want to say is that personally, I believe it's fundamentally flawed, right? And the reason why I say that is to go back to the criticism that he's received from the system. He's actually documented, I believe Elle magazine documented him by, he was saying that when it comes to him styling kinky hair, he prefers to relax the hair because it's easier to work with. So statements like that already let me know that he was not informed in regards to how to treat coily and kinky type of hair and things of that nature. And that's one of the things that has led to a lot of just self-hate within our community. And people just, because there's not a lot of information on this, you will not find this kind of information in a textbook or for cosmetology or anything like that, or when you get your license, they would not have a dedicated course to this kind of stuff to help you understand about this. So there's a lot of people that have curly, coily, and kinky type hair that struggle finding the treatment unless they know somebody that is a natural hairstylist. And even with those people, they are not taught this kind of stuff, right? So if you don't have a passion like myself, that it can be very difficult to understand your hair type, right? The next thing is, these are my main points when it comes to my opinion. Your hair type is not homogeneous. Now, what does this mean? It just simply means that people love to say, oh, I am 1A, or I am 4C, or I am 3A, or whatever the case is. Homogeneous means that your hair is that the entire way through. Because of genetics, no one is purely 4C. No one is purely 3B. No one is purely 2A, or whatever the case is, right? But the next thing I want to get into is using the number system is bias and hierarchy. This is one reason why I do not use the number system. And if you go to the thumbnail of this video, it's straight, wavy, curly, coily, and kinky, right? Those, it's easier to be able to define it that way and to understand your hair from that perspective. The next thing is your hair type can be altered naturally. A lot of people try to argue me down, and I don't waste my time with people like that anymore, because I've come to understand that a lot of people are not educated on this. But to give you all a simple explanation is, when you were a baby, like, I know I'm an 80s baby, so whenever I was born, my mothers and the mothers around that time period used to do like photo albums, and they would take your first haircut, they would just take hair out and put it in a baby album. And I still have my baby hair, my photo album, things of that nature. And my curl type was a lot looser, because when you're first born, the hair structure is not defined the way that it needs to. As you get older, what happens is your genetics come into effect, and your hair gets stronger, and your curl type becomes a lot more evident. But even as you age, what will happen is the hair follicle gets weaker in structure, and then therefore you lose the curls, right? So I don't want to get too much into that, but I will make a dedicated video in the future in regards to how your hair type can be altered naturally, as well as even chemically, right? So with that being said, the last point that I want to say is, if using the hair typing system, it should only be used by professionals, right? Common people, the general population, there's no point in trying to define if you have 4C or 3B, and it just, in my personal opinion, it causes more just arguments within our community, and just people. There's a lot of YouTubers that will claim that they have 4C hair, and then there's a segment of people that will say, well, you don't, and they will argue them down, and it's silly. So the next point that I want to get into, let's really get into the meat of it, the indoctrination of misinformation. Now, the reason why this is important is because when it comes to the wave game, there's a lot of people that have created videos just based off of these type of hair textures, right? And they'll say hair texture or curl type or whatever the case is. But in the wave game, they'll typically say, oh, you're either a coarse hair waver, medium hair waver, or a straight hair waver. And when I first came onto the scene, I was like, man, this is completely, it doesn't make any sense at all, right? And the people that were coming out with this, what I learned was they were just simply saying this stuff just to make content up and try to create their own thing, when the reality is we already had a definition of our hair before slavery and things of that nature, right? So with that being said, you don't need to come up with a system that doesn't even make sense. When we look at this, when people say that they have coarse hair, what are they saying? They're typically referring to their hair texture based off of how it feels. But like I've already detailed in my video about the truth about coarse hair wavers, your hair can feel coarse or rough in nature, but that doesn't mean you have coarse hair, because hair texture by definition simply means that it's the width of your hair follicle, right? So if your hair follicle is very wide, then you have coarse hair. If your hair follicle is very thin, you have fine hair. That does not line up with the other two. So the next time when people say, oh, I'm a medium hair waver or things of that nature, it doesn't make sense in lines of coarse or even straight, right? What the heck does medium do with coarse or straight? It does nothing with it, right? And then the last thing, of course, I've made a video off this already, but straight hair wavers is an oxymoron. It doesn't make any sense, and people who say this, they're not thinking about what they're saying. In order to have waves, your hair has to wave or curl up. So therefore, if you are a straight hair waver, that doesn't make sense. If you have straight hair, you can't get waves, right? So that was one of the reasons why I decided to make this video right here, which is, what is my hair texture? And it goes into a little bit more detail, but as you can see, this is talking about curl type, but there's a terminology that is used interchangeably, and they're different. Hair texture is different from curl type. Now, when I made this video, the purpose was to help educate the wave community. It was highly received within the people within the community, except for people who already had a platform on YouTube who were defining these other terms. When I came out with this video, my intention was that eventually they would have to change up their language, because anybody with common sense would see that this is foolish of what they're saying. But that didn't happen. What happened was they doubled down on these terminologies. With that being said, that kind of gets into the beginning of indoctrination information. Now we need to discuss the dangers of indoctrination, right? The first point that I want to point out is that when it comes to indoctrination, it usually starts when you are very young, right? And indoctrination is not a bad thing. You could be indoctrinated with good principles, and like how the word says, train up a child in the way that they should go, and then when they get older, they shall not depart from it. That's a form of indoctrination, right? But typically what I'm referring to here is when people are young and they watch certain videos or whatever the case is, there's a certain age where you are very impressionable. So when you're introduced and you're told from your early age that you have coarse hair, or you have medium hair, or you have straight hair, it makes it very difficult for you to kind of not believe that, and you hold an identity. It's like if a baby was born into a family where the entire family were Cleveland Browns fans, right? That child never was given a chance to be able to choose what their favorite team was, because whenever they see the Cleveland Browns play, they may grow up and go into college and everything. Like when people ask them, they say, "Oh, my favorite team is the Cleveland Browns," but it's more so because they have associated the Browns with their family, right? And that's a form of indoctrination a lot of people live off of. And this is going to get into some deep things in this section, but I want you all to understand this because it's going to play a factor in regards to the rest of this video. The second point is, as you get older, it's harder to learn something new or more accurate. This is one of the reasons why after I dropped the video about hair textures, I wasn't surprised that people doubled down and made it seem as if what I was saying wasn't true, because like the saying goes, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Some of these people have been hard-coded to believe this stuff. No matter how wrong it is, they're going to keep believing it. Even after this video, they're probably going to come out and make videos to say, oh, whatever, right? But the third point is, celebrities are often used to indoctrinate people because of their social status. A lot of times you will see people that will come out and, like, if there's a flood or whatever the case is, they'll say, well, what do you think about this? I remember at one point in time, Cardi B, with the elections, they was asking Cardi B a lot of questions, and they kept throwing celebrities in the front to try to get people to vote for certain political parties and things of that nature. And I'm like Dave Chappelle when it comes to this stuff.
Who gives a fuck what Ja Rule thinks at a time like this, nigga? This is ridiculous.
I don't care what a celebrity thinks, but in context of this video, people see myself as well as other YouTubers as celebrities in a sense. And the bigger your sub count is, then the bigger of a celebrity that they see you. So at the same time, if somebody with more subscribers says something, people typically gravitate towards that, and they think that what this person is saying is true, because how can they have this many supporters or subscribers if what they're saying isn't true? And that's not how social media works, right? So with that being said, the last point, all of this leads into what is known as cognitive dissonance. Now, if you don't know what cognitive dissonance is, it's simply whenever you learn something and you are introduced with new information, it's like a form of tension or friction in your mind to where you can't, like, you can't accept the truth, right? And this leads into the next point of Off the Matrix, right? Whenever Morpheus sat down with Neo, he gave him a choice. You can take the blue pill or you can take the red pill. Now, we all know the famous iconic scene. The blue pill symbolized you staying in your dream world, accepting your life as it is, and just living your life just kind of like just blind to the choices that you can have and all that kind of stuff like that. But the red pill was basically you choosing to come out of that sleep, out of that slumber, out of that cognitive dissonance, to be able to say, hey, no matter how hard or a struggle this may feel, I'm going to go through with this. In the rest of the movie, you all saw how Neo had to go through a lot of different things in order to prepare his body. He had to learn Kung Fu. He had to get used to the simulator and all that kind of stuff like that, right? But people who choose the red pill, a lot of people don't choose the red pill because it's harder to accept. A lot of people would rather be comfortable. And one of the things that I noticed within the Wave game is that people just wanted to be liked by the ones that they saw as celebrities. So they would use these same terms in order to get a shout out, a collab, or whatever the case is. But when I came on the scene, what I noticed was that because I was against the masses, they tried to paint it out as if I was a hater or if I didn't know what I was talking about. But as we continue with this video, you will see clearly I know exactly what I'm talking about. Now, this gets into why is curl type important. People typically ask me, hey J. Lou, how fast can I get waves? Well, if you know your curl type, it will help you determine how fast you can get waves. And we'll get into the details about that in a second, but this is like one of the top questions I received. The next thing is, it also helps determine your routine for getting waves. If you have a different curl type, your routine is not going to be the same as somebody else who hair curls a lot faster. If your hair curls slow, then there's going to be different things that you're going to have to do, right? The third thing, and this kind of goes into the next 3 points, is it determines when you should get a haircut, right? If you have a certain curl type, your hair will grow maybe faster than people with other curl types, right? So that'll help you know when you should get a haircut. It determines how often you get a haircut, right? And then it also determines the length of your haircut. Now this one is big, and I'm probably going to go into a little bit more details on separate videos when I make on each specific curl type. But there's so many people that will hit me up in my inbox and say,
"Hey J. Lou, I'm a course cat waver, and I've been following this person's advice, and I still don't have waves. It's been a year or 2 years. Help me."
And as soon as I would look at their picture, it's easy because I'm like, bro, you cutting your hair too short. Your hair is just entirely too short, and because you don't know what your actual curl type is, you don't know what length you should get your hair cut, and you're going off with somebody who does not know, right? So that's how people stay in the confusion. But then the last thing is, I think this is the #1 question I receive over the years. What are the best products for my hair, right? Knowing your curl type helps you determine what are the best products for your curl type. And with this video, one thing I want to point out is all of those people that came out against me so hard in the past, they were so adamant about it being coarse, medium, and straight. Whenever I dropped the video about the truth about hair textures, it was to help you understand that if you see your hair and accept it as kinky hair, there are actually products that have labels that will say,
"Hey, this product is made for kinky hair," or "Hey, this product is made for curly hair," or "Hey, this product is made for coily hair."
Right? On my products, what I do is, because I know all of this stuff, I put that on a label to where I design my products to be able to work for all hair types as well as all hair porosities. But I don't want to get too much into that. The next thing that we need to do is get into the curl types for waves. The wave game to me I've always looked at it as a sense of brotherhood. There's supposed to be some kind of brotherhood, and in a family, one thing that you know is everybody may not be the star in the family, but everybody deserves their moment to shine. And there's a current wave group that they've kind of gone down the path and experience that I myself, as well as the wave group that I was a part of, that they never really were able to get their shine when it came to like the wave game, especially like on the YouTube aspect, right? So I reached out to the creator of the group. So I want to give a big salute to Dripset. I reached out to Drip, and he was like, "Hey, yeah, man, definitely, we'll definitely go with it." So with that being said, let's get into the curl types. Now, the first thing that you all need to understand is I will use the numbers, but it's only because people understand the numbers. They're used to the numbers. But I personally don't use the numbers in my personal life. I'm just using it for a presentation to help people that are used to this system understand that, hey, if you are any of these three, your hair is just simply straight. But what is straight hair? Straight hair simply lies flat or is straight. It falls under 1A, 1B, and 1C. Now for 1A hair, it is impossible to get waves. However, with 1B and 1C, there are ways to curl your hair that may give the appearance of wavy hair. When people hit me up and say,
"Hey man, I have straight hair, can I get waves?"
It's like, bro, like why do you want to get waves, right? That's the real question, because at the end of the day, the purpose of this video is to love the hair texture or the curl type that you were born with, right? So with that being said, moving forward, wavers with straight hair. Now, if you're not familiar with my channel, then you won't be surprised that there are none, right? There's no such thing, right? If you want to know more information about that, then you can definitely check out more videos. But the only waver with straight hair that I know is this guy right here, Bob Ross. Now, clearly, Bob Ross does not have waves. But when you look at Bob Ross's hair, he became known as having this iconic image of a white man with an afro. Now, if you do not know, when I refer to people with 1B and 1C type hair, people with straighter hair typically have to perm their hair to give it an appearance of curls, right? Bob Ross permed his hair in order to give it an appearance of an afro. He was able to do this because he didn't cut his hair all the time, right? The reason why I don't encourage people with straight hair to try to get waves is because in order to do that, you would have to perm your hair. But waves only look good when your hair is at a certain length, right? So with waves, you have to cut your hair a lot more. Bob Ross didn't have to cut his hair that much, right? Bob Ross rocked the afro. He was able to get a perm every now and then. But if you're trying to get waves, you're probably going to have to get a perm more often than not. And perms are just not good for your scalp, any of that kind of stuff, right? You don't want to be getting perms all the time just to be able to rock waves. You should just accept and embrace the curl type that God bless you with, right? So with that being said, if you want to know more information about this, I made this video right here called The Simple Science About Straight Hair Waivers. Now, as you can see, I clearly put in quotes straight because I don't believe that there's no such thing as a straight hair waiver, but this video will definitely help you out. Now, the next thing is, let's get into the actual curl types. The first one is wavy. Now, people get mad about this and they'll say,
oh man, it's easy for them to get waves.
Well, when you have a better understanding of the curl types, it makes sense because waves, like if you have wavy hair, it's gonna be easier for your hair to get wavy, right? And that's what the definition is. Wavy hair looks like natural waves. It falls under 2A, 2B, and 2C. People with this type of hair have to grow their hair out longer to obtain the length necessary to get waves, but with proper maintenance, it is possible to get them. And there are several people that have been able to achieve waves with wavy hair. Now, the sad truth is a lot of people refer to this as straight hair waivers, right? When the reality is they just simply have wavy hair. So they're confusing the people who actually have straight hair. And the people with straight hair are thinking that,
oh, well, if he's a straight hair waver, I can get waves.
And they're coming in and hit me up in my inbox. And I'm like, bro, man, kill it with all of this nonsense. I'm tired of answering these questions, right? And I don't want y'all to take that rant as something serious, but it's just a reality that, like, the more ignorance that goes out, then it's a waste of time. Like, people, you wouldn't even have to come in my inbox and ask me that silly question if you already knew that you can only get waves if you have wavy hair on down, right? The next thing is, who are some waivers with wavy hair? The first person I want to point out is he is a part of Dripset. Everybody now moving forward are a part of Dripset, and their Instagrams are linked down below. This gentleman, his name is Leo DeLoyal, right? This clearly is wavy hair. The next person is Swag Guru 928, right? He clearly has wavy hair, and I want to show you all the differences of wavy hair. Then the last one is Them Boys Clean, right? Now, with these videos, as I go from left to right, what you'll notice is the curl pattern increases, right? So Leo has a looser texture of wavy hair, a curl pattern of wavy hair. Swag has a little bit more, and then Them Boys Clean has a lot more than the previous two. So that's how I want you all to read these pictures as they're coming up. Now, when we get into it, like I said, your curl pattern is not homogeneous. So there's waivers with wavy to curly hair, and this is how that looks, right? So we have BPX 360, right? So as you can see, he has wavy hair, but he has a lot more waves than the previous people because his hair is going from wavy to curly. Next, we have Chinchilla P, right? So you can see that Chinchilla P actually has a little bit more waves than BPX. And the thing I want to point out is Chinchilla P in this picture, his hair length is at a fresh cut. Whenever your hair grows longer, your curls, it looks like you have more curls. When you cut it low, it looks like you have less curls, right? So I don't want people to get confused by that either, but that's what I mean when I say he has more. And then we have Hitman Tanner, right? Hitman Tanner is on the line of being wavy or curly, right? It could be either or. Some parts of his hair may be wavy, most of his hair may be on the curlier side, but you can clearly see that Hitman Tanner has a lot more curls or waves than the other two people, right? So with that being said, let's move on to the next curl type. The next curl type is, shout out to my boy Mr. Wave Man, is curly. Curly hair looks like a stretched slinky. It happens to fall under 3A, 3B, and 3C. With this curl type, it is easy to get waves because they are stretched out curls, and curly hair naturally will wave up with minimal effort. And through my years of being on YouTube, I have curly hair. Just so if you all wanted to know, I have curly hair, right? It is easy for me to be able to get waves, and that's one reason why when I went on a journey of not using a brush and a do-rag, some people with coily or kinky hair was like,
man, that dude is tripping.
But it's not, because I understand my hair. I understand that I could go on a journey like that and not waste my time and be able to achieve an appearance and a look because I understood my curl type, right? And this is the main reason why I'm making this video, so you can know what you need to do so you can avoid certain methods, because there's a lot of just shenanigans on YouTube with videos of people who don't know what they're talking about, and it's like I see people wasting their time doing things that have absolutely nothing that will benefit their curl type. Now, when we get into waivers with curly hair, I want to give a shout out to Dripset, right? Dripset Me So Wavy is the first person. He is the leader of Dripset, right? And when it comes to his hair type, you can clearly see that he has curly hair, right? He has a lot more waves than other people. Now, It could be on a teeter, or if he has some wavy hair, like on a small spectrum of wavy hair into curly hair. But this is what I want you all to be able to understand is when we look at King Wavy 03, you can see that he has curly hair, right? His hair would look like how my hair looks whenever I have 360s when I'm in a deep woof. You can clearly see that he's woofing in this picture. But then with Mr. Pooty, right, his hair is cut a lot lower to where he has curly hair, but when you cut curly hair lower, the waves look a lot wider to where they can seem like it gives the appearance of wavy hair, but really he has curly hair. The longer and longer he grows out his hair, then the more curls that you'll be able to see that are defined, and it'll be easier to spot curly hair, right? Now, the next thing I want to point out is waves with curly hair. These are a few more people, right? And as we progress through the videos, you will notice that there was not that many examples of people with wavy hair, because there's not a lot of people with wavy hair that's trying to get waves. But as we go into this, you will see that there's going to be a lot more curly hair wavers. There's going to be a lot more coily hair wavers and things of that nature. So if you all wanted to do play a little game, you can count how many people have been highlighted under each category, right? Now, 360 Butter represents a curly hair waver, as well as 360 S Dot. And 360 S Dot, like, he gives, because he has a fresh cut, you can see that his waves look a lot more spaced out, right? But as his hair grows a little bit longer, it will look a lot more curly. But when we go down the line from left to right, you see that each person has more waves because Shine the Truth on a low cut has a little bit more waves than 360 S Dot, right? So this is how curly hair would look from different states, right? I showed you all the people who have whooping hair, as well as the people who have a little bit more fresh cuts and things of that nature. So whether if you have a fresh cut or a low cut, you would be able to, a fresh cut or a whooping, you would kind of be able to tell what your curl type is. Now, this one, I wanted to be able to highlight people that have swirls, right? When you have a swirl, Ja, the waver, clearly has curly hair, right? And then my boy EW Khalil clearly has curly hair. I remember at one point in time, my swirl kind of looked something like that. What I'm saying is my hair texture reminded me, his hair texture reminded me of how my hair looked whenever I had a swirl, right? And then the last guy, So504, clearly he has curly hair. Now, the appearance of his hair, it just looks different with different products, and the more and more you know how to take care of your hair, then the better it will look over time, right? So with that being said, we're going to move forward to wavers with curly to coily hair, right? Because like I said, not everybody is purely. Even some of the people I mentioned before, they probably had a little bit of coily hair in their hair, but I don't want to get into that as of right now. But on the left hand side, we have so many back ends, right? He is on the furthest spectrum of curly hair. Then Wavy Buddy is in the middle of curly and coily. And then, I don't know how to pronounce this name right here, but you all see it. He is more on the coily spectrum when it comes to curl types, right? So with that being said, you all can pause the video if you wanted to, but let's move on. The next curl type is coily. And when it comes to coily, my personal opinion, people with coily hair, their hair looks the best when it comes to getting waves, right? And one of the reasons why I believe so is coily hair looks like a compressed slinky. It falls under 4A and 4B, and this is the ideal curl type for waves because once the hair is properly moisturized, you can get waves fast. This curl type allows for lower cuts as well. People with the coily type of curl type, they can get away with maybe getting a 1.5, right? A curly hair waver would not be able to get a 1.5, but I'm going to make a separate video in regards to, based off of your curl type, what should you get, how should you get your curl, your hair cut, right? I don't want to get too much into that right now. But people with coily hair, when they know how to take care of their hair looks immaculate with waves, right? Especially when it's healthy, right? My boy Charles Austin, he has some of the dopest 540s and things of that nature. And you can clearly see Charles, if you ask him, he would tell you he has some of the roughest hair in the world. But because he knew his hair and he took time to learn and treat his hair the right way, it looks like he doesn't even have like rough or coarse or whatever you want to say type of hair, right? And this is what I want to get away from people thinking that. I'll meet people every now and then, they'll say,
oh man, I got nigga hair.
And I'm like, bro, like that is so ignorant, bro. Like, come on, we got to do better as a people, right? So the next thing is, I want to give a moment of silence before I get into coily hair waivers. And the main reason why is because within the Dripset family, one of the people that I wanted to highlight was this gentleman right here on the right, and his name is Wade with Zay. Now Zay is the son of Rel Hendrix, and Rel, I've recognized his name over the years. Rel has supported me, right? within the years of waving, like Zay was somebody that was like his right hand man, and unfortunately he ended up losing his life. So as of right now, I just want to give a brief moment of silence for Zay, because this is a brotherhood, this is a family, right? So with that being said, y'all just give me a moment. Now, within the Dripset family, one of the reasons why I wanted to be able to highlight them is because over the years I saw them move as a family. As how a lot of people say groups are, they move like how groups are supposed to be, right? They met up, they did all that kind of stuff. It was I never heard any bad things about Dripset, right? Now I've heard people that didn't like me that tried to do the same things to them, but I've never heard any bad things about Dripset. They're like people who, if you respect them, then they're gonna respect you, right? And I'm the same way. Like, so with that being said, when it comes to waivers with coily hair, this is where you start getting into people who will see their hair, and if they don't know how to take care of it, they may see their hair in the negative light. But you can clearly see when coily hair is well maintained and taken care of, it looks, to me, coily hair is my favorite curl type when it comes to waves, right? So we have King Trap 84. When it comes to a swirl, this is how it would look if you have coily hair with a swirl. As you can see, you can go back to the previous slides. King Trap has way more waves than Ja the Waver, and I can't remember the other gentleman's name right now. But this allows you to be able to see what is my curl type, so in the future you'll be able to know exactly how to take care of it. Now in the middle is my boy Drop Phase, right? He has 360s. He's in a it's like a partial wolf, but he has like the drop fade, so you can kind of see the different angles of how coily hair would look at kind of different levels. Close towards his crown, his hair is a lot thicker, but when you get to the edges, you can see that it spaces out a little bit more, right? And then we have So 504, right? And he's on a thicker wolf, and as you can see, he has a lot of waves. The number of waves that he has is kind of similar to King Trap's, but King Trap has a little bit more, right? On this slide, they all have coily hair, right? When we go on to it, we have Blasian Wave, and I believe he's been somebody that's been supporting me for a minute. You can clearly see he has coily hair. And when people with coily hair know how to get a swirl, look at how perfect his swirl looks, right? This requires a lot of hard work and dedication to be able to get your swirl to look like this with coily hair. So you got to give respect where it's due. In the middle, we have Dripset Killer, right? As you can see, he has a more of a fresher cut. And like I said, I wanted to be able to showcase on Blasian has a wolf. Dripset has a decent size cut, like an ideal length cut. But then Wavy the King has that low cut. He probably has a 1.5 in his picture just looking at it, right? So this is what I meant when I say people with coily hair can get away with 1.5s, and they waves they just be hidden. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, that's some things you need to understand about it. Now when we get into it a little bit more, we have I Am 360 Carter. Now I Am 360 Carter has been supporting me for a minute, right? So I want to give a salute to you as well, bro, if you watch this video. But you can see he clearly has coily hair. Fast Money Juice, he is one of the I say like head honchos in Dripset, right? I remember every time I would see Drip, I would always see Fast Money Juice, so I just wanted to give a salute to you as well. And then Javon, I believe Javon is like the dude that has been taking people spots and banners, things I can't remember it exactly, but people have said a lot of great things about Javon, right? So when you look at their hair, you can clearly see that they have coily hair, right? And when you take care of coily hair, it doesn't matter. Like if they didn't take care of their hair, they may say that they have the negative things that people say about black people hair, right? But when you take care of it, it can look really amazing and flawless, right? So moving on forward, we have Spiral Drip. Spiral Drip is clearly in a deep wolf, right? He clearly has coily hair. We have Just the Dragon. He has a swirl and he's in a wolf, and he has coily hair as well. And then we have the greatest 1947. He has coily hair, but you can see that with the beehive look, it can kind of help you identify. You can count the number of waves that he has and compare it with your hair. I didn't want to do that because I didn't want to put a number on kind of stuff like that, So with that being said, we get into waivers with coily to kinky hair. Now this is important because on the left hand side, Tsunami Rail is on the higher spectrum of coily hair. In the middle, Zay So Wavy Entertainment. I know Zay has been supporting me for the years. It may not look like he has less than Tsunami, but it's because he has a fresher cut in this video. And keep in mind, like I said, on a low cut, your waves look wider. But if he was woofing, if it was the same length as Rails, then they would look. You would clearly be able to see that Zay has a little bit more from the Coily to Kinky spectrum. And then on the end, we have the greatest 1947, right? He clearly has a lot more kinkier hair, in the sense that he has way more waves that he has to work with and deal with, right? So with that being said, from Coily to Kinky, we get into the last curl type. The curl type of waves with kinky hair. Now this is my boy Muhammad, right? We was on WTBD together, and he always carried himself with respect, you know. So I wanted to definitely be able to highlight him because he has very kinky hair, right? When you look at how many waves he has an infinity amount of waves, and the main reason why is because kinky hair has a Z-type curl. It's a curl, but it curls in a Z-type formation. It falls under 4C. This curl type curls the fastest, making it possible to maintain a very low lengths. However, the Z-type structure makes it hard to maintain definition at longer lengths. What I mean by that is people with the kinky type of hair could possibly get 0 against the grains, right? People with this type of hair could possibly get a 1 against the grain and still have waves, or 1 with the grain and still have waves, because their hair curls at such a small length to where they don't have to maintain longer lengths. But when they get into longer journeys and whoops and things of that nature, they're typically the first people complaining because they're trying to do what somebody with coily or curly hair can do, but they can't do because their Z-type definition within their curls, right? So this is one reason why I say when you know your curl type, then you know how often you need to cut and how often you need to avoid, as well as how low you need to cut, but how much you need to avoid trying to follow what somebody else is doing. Now, Wave was with kinky hair. As you all will see, Foxy Brown 22, she clearly has kinky hair. What you may notice with people that have kinky hair, the closer they get to their edges, you don't really see that much of their waves. And in the wave game, they try to penalize people whenever they get into battles for not being able to see their waves. But as somebody that knows hair, this is one reason why people always wanted me to be a judge, because I know how to read this kind of stuff, right? People with kinky hair, it's harder for them to define their hair texture, their curls towards the edge with kinky hair. The main reason why is because, like I stated earlier, your hair is not homogeneous. When you get more to your edges, the curl pattern tends to change. But whenever people with kinky hair get their hair cut, typically on the sides, and I made a video in the past where most barbers don't know how to truly cut people with waves, the even length. So when it gets to their sides, they'll cut their sides. As you can see right on her temple areas, her hair is not as long that it needs to be in order to curl up, because at that point of her hair, basically in the temple areas, that's whenever our hair texture starts to change, right? So the point behind is where she has more kinky hair, but the point forward where it's not as defined is where she has maybe coily, maybe curly. But because she's getting her hair cut mainly for kinky hair, that hair is not going to wave up and look the way that the rest of her hair is going to look, right? And that's not a bad thing. This is just something that a lot of people in the wave game don't understand, and they try to make fun of people about that kind of stuff, right? But when we look at the gentleman in the middle, I can't pronounce his name, but he clearly has kinky hair. Look at how many waves that he has in his hair. Look at how tightly defined they are, right? And one of the things that you'll notice is people with kinky hair typically prefer to be compressed wavers. Now, I believe I need to make a video about that, but you can see people with kinky hair typically have their hair compressed. Now, Moses the Boxer is on the kinky spectrum, but this is in a state to where he may be outside working, and it's showing you how your hair will look whenever your hair has been out of the do-rag for a while, and it's harder to maintain definition with kinky hair because it naturally wants to grow into that fro state, right? So with that being said, I wanted to highlight these 3 people, but then the last 2 people is Trey Jones 32 and then Connection Protection, right? These 2 individuals clearly have kinky hair, right? The more and more you go through and watch this video, make sure you save this video on a playlist so you can go back and watch it and refer to it. Pause it, click, take screenshots or whatever the case is, right? So you can understand what kind of curl type that you have. But as you can see, if you was to go to the people who I said had coily hair versus kinky, you will see that these gentlemen have way more waves than those people. And it's because of the Z type in their hair. When you get to the edges of Trey Jones's hairline, which the same thing I mentioned about Foxy Brown, the definition is not as strong there, but that's because when we get to our hairlines, the texture and the curl type of our hair changes a little bit. But look at how healthy their hair looks, right? And like I said before, people with kinky hair typically lean on the spectrum of being compressed wavers, which simply means that they try to keep a do-rag on as much as possible because they need to. Their hair naturally wants to grow up and basically grow up and grow out, and it's harder to maintain waves at a higher length. And if you want to be able to woof and you want to do that, then you would have to lean more on the compressed waver state. So with that being said, that wraps up the video. Some of the closing remarks that I want to make with this video is I want to bring up the point. Waving is supposed to be a brotherhood. I would have loved to be able to have done this video with the other YouTubers. That was my original goal. But at the end of the day, there's no harm. I don't have any ill will towards anybody. But I wanted to be able to highlight people that have showed a sense of brotherhood in the wave game, and Dripset happens to be those people. So definitely want people to understand that waving is supposed to be a brotherhood. You should not be out here making fun of people just because they have a different curl type. People are born with whatever they're born with, and God gives you whatever your curl type is. So you should not hate on somebody that did not have a choice in regards to how their hair looks or how it grows out of their scalp. If you have straight hair, accept the fact that you cannot get waves, right? You should not be trying to get waves. You should be rocking your hair in a state that's more preferable for straight hair. If you have kinky hair, you should not desire to try to go on these long, extra, unnecessary woofs when your hair waves up the fastest, right? When you understand what your curl type is, you can accept the advantages and disadvantages that you may have to face on your journey, right? But keep that in mind that we are supposed to be a brotherhood. Next thing I want to say is, do not get caught up in the hair type numbers. I encourage you all to simply stick to the straight, the curly, the wavy, the coily, and the kinky hair classifications. Not for my own ego. I don't care about this stuff. I started my channel to help teach people and educate people so that they would know. This is not about me making a video so it can say, hey, this is J. Lou's. I'm not trying to create J. Lou's hair typing system, right? I'm trying to help you all understand that whenever you go out into the world and you look at products and you buy products from people who know how to make products, they will clearly state on their labels, hey, this product is made for coily hair, or this product is made for 4C hair, or this product is made for kinky hair, or this product is made for curly hair, right? When you see that kind of stuff, then that lets you know this is a good product, right? At the same time, instead of trying to go out to the store randomly, now you know what products you need to look for. You can easily get on Amazon and say, hey, best products for curly hair, best products for kinky hair, best products for coily hair, right? And instead of trying to buy every single thing and kind of hit me up and saying, hey, well, what's the best product? You now know. I'm giving you the ability to take power back into your own hands, right? So the next thing is, I will make follow-up videos to go into more detail, so please be patient with me. This video took a little bit longer time because, like I said, I wanted to be able to do collabs, but at the end of the day, I'm not crying over spilled milk. I'm in my own lane now, and I'm able to give you all the high quality content that I always wanted to, just even on my own or with people that want to move forward as a brotherhood, right? And then the last thing I want to say is, thanks for watching and salute to Dripset. Like when it comes to the wave game, they are a unit. It's supposed to be a collective, right? And when it all boils down, waving by yourself can be, it can get to the point to where if you don't want to wave anymore, it's easy for you to talk yourself out of that. There's been plenty of moments in my journey where I just wanted to cut my hair, but because I had a group or a brotherhood at the time, it allowed me to stay consistent to the craft, right? So with that being said, do not get caught up in the numbers. Always keep love at the forefront. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Nobody is dropping content like this, and I definitely need all my supporters to share this kind of content, right? The main reason why is because people in our community are not educated on this. You will not find this kind of stuff in cosmetology books. You will not find this stuff when you try to go to become a barber or whatever, get licensed to be a barber or whatever the case is. They're not teaching this stuff because they don't deem it important for us. And just going back to Andre Walker's system, a lot of people give him flack, but the reality is most of the clients that he served were celebrities, and at the time period, most of the people he was serving were people that had straighter hair, right? So naturally he had a bias towards the coily and the kinky type of hairs, right? But at the end of the day, Our world is changing, and we need to be the forerunners in order to help educate people and educate each other so that we don't remain in ignorance, so that we're not operating in cognitive dissonance. And with that being said, it's your boy J. Lou. Hopefully y'all enjoyed this video, and I hope you all have an amazing week. Salute.